or in various packages of schemes in line with your budget, with a promise to take care of you and your family in that time of dire need. From giving you access to medical services at hospitals locally and abroad, emergency evacuation, dentist and optical care, all the way to funeral benefits, Mazin is there holding your hand, keeping you covered. For details of the medical scheme you need, call 01-820-298, 01-820-543, 0888-707-100, fax 01-820-217, email infodesk@mazim.mw, or visit www.mazim.mw. Mazim, your ultimate healthcare solution.
Joining me today is a doctor who I'm not going to introduce her. I think she's going to introduce herself. But in today's program, we will be discussing diabetes as a whole, as a disease. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tabby.
You want to introduce yourself?
Okay. I am Dr. Charity Nakanga.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a general practitioner, currently working at Maiwatu. Yes.
Now, as I said in the beginning, I said we would be discussing diabetes. Let's start off by discussing what is diabetes, because I hear a lot of people saying, I have sugar. Is the disease sugar? Or is diabetes? Why do people call it sugar?
Okay. So diabetes is a long-term disease that someone else has, simply because their body cannot effectively use the sugar that's available, or it cannot produce insulin, which enables the body to absorb the sugar that's available in the body to produce energy. So I think that's why, in simple terms, people just call diabetes sugar, but it's a disease that comes because there is an inability for the body to fully use the sugar that's available.
Right. So does this mean that there's different types of diabetes, or there's just one general type?
Okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right. There are different types of diabetes. We usually see it when the body cannot produce enough insulin. Okay, so it's mainly seen in younger populations. So what happens is there's an autoimmune reaction. In our body, we have an organ called a pancreas. Okay. So this is the main body that produces the insulin. Insulin is like a key that opens up the cells of the body, because every food that we eat, most of the food that we eat, when it's broken down to its lowest form, it forms sugar. Okay.
Every type of food?
Not every type, but most types.
Most types,
mostly the carbohydrates that we eat. So which form a huge chunk of our meals. So when they're broken down, they form small molecules which we call glucose or sugar. Okay. So the body absorbs this sugar and makes energy. Okay. Then we have this organ in our body called a pancreas. It releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin is like a key. What it does, it opens the channels for the body to be able to absorb that sugar and turn it into energy. So in type 1 diabetes, what happens is there's an autoimmune reaction. So for whatever reason, the body attacks itself, okay, by a mistake of sorts. So now that pancreas is not able to produce insulin, and that sugar, which is broken down in the body, it just flows in our blood system. So every time you have a test, your sugar level is high. So that's type 1 diabetes. The symptoms come a bit quicker. Okay. There hasn't been a proper way to prevent type 1 diabetes, because whatever triggers this autoimmune response is not fully understood. Okay.
Wow.
So it usually involves younger children, teenagers, and young adults, mostly. Okay. Then we have type 2 diabetes. So this one comes mostly when there is reduce sensitivity to insulin. So the body can produce insulin, but the cells are insensitive to the insulin that has been produced. So you find there's a bit of absorption, but not much. So there's lots of glucose flowing in the system still. And this one comes mainly because of there are several risk factors involved to it, and it's mainly linked to lifestyle. So lifestyle, weight, or obesity. There are other conditions which predispose someone or put someone at a greater risk of developing this diabetes. So smoking, weight gain, sedentary lifestyle. So like these days you find people are less active. They'll just sit on the couch, watch TV, they drive here and there. So you're not really active. In women, there's this condition we call polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay, so this one, your ovaries produce lots of cysts. Okay, and it reduces the sensitivity to insulin in your body. So even if you're producing enough, your cells just can't take in a lot of insulin in the body. So that's what we call type 2 diabetes. Pre-diabetes, that's when the sugar levels are high, but not high enough to be categorized as type 2 diabetes. Okay? So with this one, the good thing is that it's reversible. You can bring it back with lifestyle changes, okay, with modification in your life. You can bring it back to normal, okay? Then there's gestation diabetes, which I talked about. It comes when you're pregnant. So in some cases, there's weight gain in pregnancy, there's increased sensitivity, there's increased resistance to insulin in pregnancy. So this one, it can be short term, meaning that other people after they deliver, they're no longer diabetic. Or others progress to diabetes later on. So it's just not put in place.
Now, you've really explained to us really well about the types of diabetes, because some might think that there's only one type, but I think you've really elaborated that there's different types. Now, in terms of the different types, are there any signs and symptoms that people can look out for that will give you a sign that you might be diabetic?
Okay. Yeah, so there are general signs, okay, but some which are specific. Let's start by type 2 diabetes. Sometimes you may not get any symptoms at all, okay? But the general symptoms, like you're always tired, okay? You're overly thirsty. There's frequent urination, especially at night. So you're constantly visiting the loo. You might have dry skin sometimes, or some skin changes. So we call them pigmentations. So on different sides.
Just explain that to us in detail. What is pigmentation?
Pigmentation, that's when you have either a discoloration of the skin. You could have like dark patches here and there, but these are the ones that we pick them when you come to the hospital. It's difficult for you to know them by yourself at home, but when you come to the hospital, we examine, we might pick.
Now, at what point, because we've discussed the signs and symptoms, but at what point should someone say, I need to go to the hospital?
Okay, so it varies. Okay. So as an individual, you know what your normal is. Okay, so let's say you're excessively feeling tired, you're excessively feeling thirsty, even though it's not hot. For example, you're dizzy, you have these palpitations, your heart keeps racing. You can come to the hospital for a general workup. So we run tests. So the basic test that we do is a fasting blood glucose. It's a screening. We want to screen. So you haven't taken any meals, you come, we screen. So if that test is greater than 7 milligrams, 7 millimoles, it means it's high. Okay. So with those symptoms that you have, we can categorize you whether you're pre-diabetic or you're in diabetes. Okay. So let's say you've come for a screening and it's normal. Okay, the sugar test is normal. We give you a follow-up date. You come and we check. So we advise those lifestyle changes, which we might talk about a bit later. Yes. So it's about you identifying your norm, or at any regular visit when you come to the doctor, you can always request, I would want to screen for diabetes, and that can be done for you.
Even if you don't have the symptoms?
Even though you don't have the symptoms.
You can request to get a test?
You can request to get a test. As I stated before, some people do not show symptoms at all. Okay? You can request to get a test. In very severe cases, let's say diabetes has been going on for a while, unchecked. People come with visual problems, they cannot see. Okay, they have tingling in their hands or their feet. They have numbness. Okay, some have wounds which fail to heal. That's when now the diabetes has progressed. Now you're having complications. Okay, yeah.
Right now, in terms of age group, at what age can you get this this disease? Is there a starting point? Is there an ending point? Or anybody can get it?
So in general, anyone can get it.
Okay.
But as I stated, there are different types. Okay, so the type 1, it's mostly with the younger population, children, teens, and young adults. Type 2, it's mostly older people from 35 years and above.
Okay.
Okay. So anyone could get it. But it's just that the types will vary.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyone can get it, but the types will vary. And once you get tested, the doctor will be in a position to tell you which type you have and what you need to do.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of what you need to do, when we come back, we will discuss prevention, treatment, and dieting.
You have all your MASM information in one place. Remember, when adding your mobile number, 265, not plus 265. You can also register with your email address easily and keep updated with your MASM account right in the palm of your hand. For more information, email infodesk@masm.mw or visit www.masm.mw.
Welcome back. Remember, this is Healthy Living here on Times. We're discussing diabetes in detail. I'm joined by Dr. Charity Nakanga. We've been discussing a lot about what diabetes is, who can get it, what types are there, but we haven't really tackled the issue of treatment. First, I want to know, can it be prevented? Before we get to the treatment part of it, can somebody prevent being diabetic?
So, yes and no. Type 1, you cannot really prevent it, but type 2, which is common these days, you can.
Okay, so it can be prevented, but how can you prevent it? Is it a lifestyle issue?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a lifestyle issue. Keeping your weight in check. So exercises, they can be light exercises, they can be moderate exercise or high intensity exercises.
Right.
Okay. Dieting. So you need to balance your calories. Every weight has its needs in terms of calorie amount. Okay. So depending on the level of your activity, you might need more calories or you might need less. So it's just about having a balance.
Right, okay. I know that later in the program we'll discuss more about lifestyle issues and dieting, but is there a treatment for diabetes?
Okay, so there is treatment, but there's no cure yet. We don't have a cure yet, but we can manage diabetes. We've had patients who have led healthier lives and they're stable.
I mean, just for the sake of the viewer, what is the treatment?
Okay.
Is it medication? What is it?
So there are different forms of medication.
Okay.
So we have tablets, different classes,
Okay.
which we can give to type 1 or type 2, okay? And we also have insulin. Those are injectables.
Right.
As I stated, insulin is a hormone which enables the body to use the sugar. So mostly in type 1 diabetes, we use insulin. So you have to inject yourself.
Okay.
There's a dose that we calculate depending on your weight and how often you should give, how many times. Okay, that's explained by a doctor at the hospital. And we have the other side where you have to take tablets. So there are different classes. Commonly here we use glibenclamide, we use metformin. Okay, it's available even in the local hospitals. And most of the pharmacies it's available.
Okay.
So for mostly type 2 we use metformin, so you take it different doses, different times. Sometimes you can also add glibenclamide to it. If it's not progressing, we can also add insulin even to a type 2 diabetes if they're not progressing.
Okay, now, I mean, at least we have a picture of the type of treatment that there is, but is there any way that you can change your lifestyle and be diabetic and not need this medication? I think let's quickly talk about dieting. What kind of food should you eat? What kind of drinks should you drink? And does food play a role? Because you keep talking about lifestyle issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
So food plays a major role in managing diabetes. Okay. So one of the things that we recommend when we have a diabetic patient is the timing of the food, the quantity of the food, even the quality of the food. Okay. So there are several things that we absolutely encourage our patients to avoid. So you need to avoid those. Fritters, cakes. Of course, we have special cakes for diabetics, people with diabetes, which are prepared maybe with almond flour, but those are expensive things.
But now, because we're talking about the Malawian at the grassroots level and how, if they can afford, is this medication that you spoke of and these tests, are they made available to them? Briefly tell us that before we go to the lifestyle segment.
Okay, so yes, luckily in government hospitals the services are free. So this medication, like I talked about glibenclamide, metformin, it's readily available.
Okay.
Of course, for free.
Because sometimes they might go to the hospital and they'll be given medication for malaria, for example, and by the time they realize that, wait, this is actually diabetes, it's too late and there's nothing they can do about it. What's your take on that?
Okay, so it's free, but sometimes we have shortages, which is one of the main challenges we have in public hospitals.
Okay.
So even though it might be prescribed, it might not always be there.
Okay.
So they have to buy from other pharmacies, which is a cost, it's a burden. But most times this medication is available.
Are there natural remedies?
I'm not really sure. Okay. There have been nutritious supplements which help people lose weight, but at the hospital we don't really recommend that someone can just be on natural remedies. Okay. But they can adjust the way they live.
Okay. All right, there you have it. We've been talking about diabetes with Dr. Charity Nakanga. Coming up in the next segment is fitness. We've been talking about how when you're diabetic, you have to maintain a certain lifestyle and a certain diet. So I hope this inspires you. segment. Thank you very much, Dr. Charity Nakanga, for joining us today. We've been discussing a lot about diabetes, the different types, the signs and symptoms, and dieting and lifestyle. Until next time, you've been with me, Tabby Kamangala. Remember that this program is sponsored by MASM.
Pamene wena amati kanthu nkhama, wena amati mwayi suponya mwini. Peza ni mphoto za Nkhani mu mpikisano wa changu pamalo promotion ndi Times Radio komanso Times TV. Tumizani message yolemba changu ku 1895 kuti mukhale ni mwayi owina mphoto zosiyanasiyana kuphatikizapo Mazda Demio. Mpikisanowu ulipo mpaka na pa 30 June chaka cha 2021. Tumizani ma message ochuluka kuti mwayi wanu uchulukenso. Ndondomeko zonse zoyendesera mpikisanowu zidzatsatidwa.